So now let's get into the design process. The design process for Noline started with a simple idea of assisting the community, finding a need.
I know we're only at the idea, but I was 19 when this was filmed. Like that's crazy. Hey everyone, Josh here. It has been nearly 3 years since I made my first official startup pitch. And in that time, I have learned so incredibly much in the field of software engineering, entrepreneurship, just from the experience of being out in the world and seeing how these things actually work. But I wanted to, for a moment, take a moment and look back at where it all began. This was something I pitched 3 years ago on December 4th, 2020. Now this was a final project for my third term semester. Basically, what we had to do was collaborating with a full stack web development student and 3 other people in my program doing front-end development and user interface design. We had to build a mobile application from the ground up, literally from scratch. Concepting what the actual thing would be, what sort of value it would offer, creating the logos, creating the style guides, doing the user interface design, going and actually building it, front end, and then basically the full stack developer would handle the back end side of things, and we collaborate and we build this mobile app. So for this was like the craziest thing I had ever done up until this point, and it really put my front end development skills to the test. Of course, in the time since then, I have learned so incredibly much, but I thought today it'd be fun to just take a moment and look back. Hey, this was the first official startup pitch, really, to a massive audience. So without further ado, let's take a look at my first ever startup pitch.
Think for a moment. If you had back every second that you've ever spent waiting for something, how much time would you have?
At Noline, we're all about that, saving our users time.
Noline acts as a mobile search engine and navigation app that allows you to view the most recent wait times for restaurants closest to you.
Now, it's time to show you the team behind Noline. My name is Josh Mountain. I'm a front-end developer and designer, and I was in charge of leading the integration between your front-end and back-end with our back-end developer. In other words, pulling all the restaurant's information from Google.
Just gonna pause for a sec here at 138. This was an incredibly scary presentation. Now, not only had this been built up as the big presentation for literally my entire program, but it had been built up as pretty much the culmination for all of our skills in front-end development, both for web and mobile. Because although it was React Native, it was building on top of React, which we had been building desktop applications for the past year and a half before that. So for this, we were absolutely terrified, and we did so much practicing before this. But honestly, looking back in hindsight, just seeing us all dressed up nicely in our suits for the call, yeah, it's really coming back to me now how cohesive it is when you have your solid team. Because in the startup that I'm working in right now, we have the right people on board. So for this was a core group of guys that I was so incredibly proud to have done this project with. It was a crazy ton of work, literally hours upon hours of late coding nights to actually make this thing happen. So I'll keep it going. And yes, there is going to be an app demo at the end.
How many times have you been out with your friends, and after finally deciding on a place that everyone likes, you find out that there's a 45-minute wait time just to get in the door? You're downtown on a Friday evening, you don't think to make a reservation. Time spent in line can feel like a waste of time. You just want to eat.
On a normal day, restaurant wait times can be painfully long, but wait times are even longer now because of the capacity restriction brought on by COVID-19. Noline offers a practical solution that saves you, the users, time that would have been spent waiting at the door.
Noline targets to.
So when we concepted this idea, the main thing that we drew inspiration from was the fact that we had been pretty much stuck inside for, when was this? December 2020? So it was less than a year, but still, it was a long enough period of time where the amount of time that you would have to spend waiting outside of a store just to get in, just to buy stuff, it was a real problem. And so we wanted to actually capitalize on this fact, not only just for what was the immediate future of what life was going to look like post-pandemic, but continuing onwards to the point where people had live, accurate wait times that were community sourced. And that was kind of where the idea came from. Think of it like almost combining Waze with some sort of Google Maps live view for what the times are, but having it be much more accurate because it's community-based. I might be stealing my thunder here. I can't remember.
Who are out needing a place to eat fast. general community who loves to eat at a restaurant with no waits, or business owners to increase business by reporting their wait times.
Does this sound like you?
Restaurants on average have a wait time of 6.6 hours per week, with parties waiting nearly half an hour on average for a table.
So what is no?
That's right. Okay, so now it's coming back to me. One core component of the app was not just the fact that people were going to actually be reporting live wait times and having those live wait times be available to everyone else. It was also the fact that we were going to incorporate this as an incentive for restaurants to post their wait times. For example, if you were a restaurant owner and you were having a bit of a slow night, for example, like let's say there was a restaurant that was having a slow night and they were in a busy place, let's say downtown, but maybe this restaurant just wasn't getting as much traffic. Maybe it was off the beaten path, people don't know where it is. Whatever the reason why this restaurant may not be busy, by reporting their live wait time as low, it might incentivize people to actually go to that place. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourself, what is the point of doing that when an application like Google would report the live wait times anyway? Well, for Google, for the most part, you typically see that and it says this is typical or this is average for this time. Now, we wanted to make it actually live. We wanted to make it community-based. We wanted people to trust it because of the fact that it was community sourced instead of just some sort of generic or average idea of how that business would be busy. If you were downtown and you were really hungry and all these places were busy and you wanted to eat right now, it was a matter of would you be willing to walk that 15 minutes extra to have no wait, or would you want to stand in a line at a place right next to you for 20 minutes? This app basically solved that by going, okay, you pull out your phone, you look at the places around you, go, okay, everywhere within a 5-minute walk is going to have a wait time. But if we walk 15 minutes, we're going to actually save time in the long run because not only are we going to get there and there's going to be nobody there, but we're going to get seated right away and we're not going to have to waste time standing in a line. And that was true for not just restaurants, but other businesses in general. Although we didn't really capitalize on the other business aspect, we mainly focused on restaurants for the main purpose of this application.
Well, NoLine circumvents this issue by searching restaurants near your current location to find those with the shortest line and filtering those based on your preferences. The app is community-based, which means that users can report live wait times to the app and others can view those wait times to avoid having to wait in line.
After extensive research, we modeled the community interactivity in NoLine based on proven methods demonstrated by the app Waze. We based our designing and developing off their build, play, and monetization system. By using similar methods, we're aiming to maximize our user engagement by gamifying the application and providing value through live wait times. Overall, we designed NoLine to be as intuitive as possible, regardless of one's technical ability.
So now let's get into the design process. The design process for NoLine started with a simple idea of assisting the community, finding a need.
I know we're only at the idea, but I was 19 when this was filmed. Like that's crazy. Oh, actually, you know what? I had been 19 for a month when this was filmed. My third semester of university. The course I only took was, or the program I only took was 2 years, but it was 2 years of really intense courses. So this was my second to last semester. So I was 19 when this was filmed. But man, do I look way younger than that. Just looking in hindsight. I'm definitely rocking baby face in this video. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'll stop interrupting.
That needed to be filled and creating an application that filled that need. When we saw the toll that the pandemic was taking on the service industry, we decided to create an application that would display live wait times for businesses. And we decided to start with restaurants.
Once we settled on our concept, we conducted extensive research within the possible target markets to ensure we reached our goal in achieving the specific needs of the community. We knew we had to create something different and still solve a real-world problem.
When we finally settled with NoLine, we took a deeper look at other similar apps on the market, such as Google Maps. While apps like Google Maps and Yelp offered a vague idea of inside the restaurant, we opted for an app that looked at the wait outside the restaurant.
Finally, we created multiple mock-ups of every page and component of the application. Through a series of rigorous tests and redesigns, we eventually had a finished design product that was ready for development.
Moving to development process, NoLine uses a...
What's cool about looking back at the design process is many of the things that we talked about there are the things I still preach today. is actually going through the user research and making sure that your mobile application, assuming it's mobile, or if you're doing it on desktop, making sure it is mobile responsive and making it accessible for all users. These are the sort of things that I continually will talk about today. Even if we're doing it using chat-gpt, making sure that we're still following those consistent guidelines and making sure that we're filling out those little details and thinking about the nuances overall. This is just a process that we had to go through. It was a natural thing. But now, as I'm actually going out building applications, it's second nature to me. You should go and do it with some research and with some target audiences and with some data to back up why you are building this thing, who it offers value to, and why they're willing to pay for it. So, on to the development process.
Firebase database for storing all the information about the restaurants. Noline connects directly with Google, as it's used for finding nearby restaurants and anything within the vicinity. We are using React Native to create our app and testing it on a virtual Android phone.
As many of you may know, this semester was conducted entirely in a virtual environment, which made for a challenging collaboration process. Because of this, we ended up learning more about problem solving and how to persevere in the face of adversity than we originally were expecting.
As challenging as it was, we adapted and overcame. By using the remote collaboration platform GitHub, we were able to ensure that the team was communicating effectively at all times. Every week we would hit a wall, and then hit it again, and again. But as long as we broke through that wall by the end of the week, that was a success in our minds. With that said,
one thing I love to do in presentations, and it still works really well for me, you might notice it in some of the things I talk about today, is I love throwing in really well-spoken one-liners. If they're really long one-liners or paragraphs or little tiny micro speeches that just leave you with a sense of wow, just to hit the point home. And that, I'm talking about the fact that we were overcoming adversity working in that remote setting. There were a lot of challenges with the project, with the backend database not working correctly, our filters weren't working. In fact, at one point when we were actually searching up items using it, we set the American filter for food, and we got American Eagle as one of the stores that popped up, because Google Places API, which is what we're using to power and bring actually all the businesses in, it just had American in the title, so when we put that American filter on, it just brought that in. That was something that was a bit difficult to solve and took a little bit of troubleshooting. It took a little bit of teamwork. It took collaboration. And doing that in a remote environment was even more difficult than if you were sitting right beside the person that you were working with, which is how we did it pre-pandemic. So for this, I think putting in those little things in those presentations that really drive your point home, I think that's what worked for me in terms of being able to communicate the value of whatever I was building or designing or just presenting in general to my audience.
it's time to show you what Noline's all about with our app demo. All right, team, is it working correctly?
Yep.
Excellent. So loading up the Noline application, we can see a sign up or sign in screen. In this case, I already have an account, so I'll just sign right in. Make sure not to tell anybody my password. Signing in, taking you to the main home screen. All of the restaurants within your immediate vicinity are pulled and sorted from the shortest wait time to the longest wait time. Here we can see V Cafe, Fusion Core Japanese Eatery, and let's say I wanted to search for a specific restaurant. There's a search bar at the top right up here where you can see, but let's say I don't know what I want to search for. We have a nice filter page. Let's say wait time, I want to set it at a maximum 45 minutes. That's all I'm willing to go. Distance, 20 kilometers. And Farhaz, give me a type of food.
You know what, Josh, I could really use some pizza right now.
Some pizza? I could too. So we hit this pizza icon down here and a little check mark will appear confirming that that's in fact what you have selected. You go and hit this done button here and the app will completely refresh and we can see now Pizza Pizza, Viva La Pizza, Pizza Factory. Myself personally, I'm a Pizza Factory guy. So I click on this and I can see Pizza Factory, the stars, the number of reviews. It has a 10-minute wait and what time it was updated at. And we can see an actual interactive map where Pizza Factory is. So it's on Kingsway. Let's zoom out. Okay. Oh, okay. That's where it is.
Getting that map feature to work was the hardest part of the entire application. Forget pulling in the data using Google Places. Getting that map to actually work, this is part of the reason why I started zooming in and I started zooming out, was because the fact that I was so proud that we actually got the map to work. We were honestly considering, this was a last minute thing where we were like, let's just put a picture of a map in. And we used that for most of the test until the I think it was the last week before we actually had to present. At that point, we were like, okay, we got to get a working map. It was like the Mac talking That was how important it was to us to actually have a working map demonstrating how this application would work. It may seem like a very small feature, but for us that was like huge.
Now, let's say I get to Pizza Factory and the wait time is not 10 minutes. The wait time is in fact closer to 25 minutes. So I go onto the app, I go to the page, and I go report the current wait time, and I hit 25, boom, submit. Instantly at the top, the wait time is updated with the new wait time, 25-minute wait, updated by my username, Josh M, at 12 p.m., current time. So before we get back into this, let's talk about some of the other features of our application.
So here we are on the map page, and the user has the ability to look at various restaurants on the map, which is directly imported from the Google Maps program interface. We also have a search bar at the top of the page if the user has a specific restaurant.
If I'm remembering this correctly, the search feature on this page didn't actually work. If I remember correctly, we just took the component for the search, put it on top of the map, but on this page, it wouldn't redirect you back to the other page. I'm pretty sure I don't actually search anything up here. I could be mistaken.
So now let's navigate to the profile page.
Ah, no. Oh, yeah, man. I remember that. We didn't actually end up doing it.
So on the profile bio page, users can view their profile picture, username, location, and their points that they achieved. Users can also view how many times that they reported, reviews written, and their bio. Now moving on to the edit profile page. So in this page, users have the option to change their profile picture, username, location, and their bio.
Now, one of the questions we get asked the most about our application is, what are these points? What do the points mean? And for that, the awards section can answer it. We navigate to the awards, and you can see that you get different points for doing different things within the application, referring a friend, sharing on Facebook, but most importantly, reporting a wait time. This is our way of gamifying the application and driving up user engagement. We want our users to feel like they are the ones who are reporting to their favorite restaurants. They are going to get and they're going to get points because of that. So as the user gets those points, that is increasing credibility on their part. Other users can see that if you have a lot of points, then obviously you've reported a lot of wait times. Before we finish this off, I'll take us back to the search results one more time and show you a couple other features. Simply put, I need another type of food. What do we got?
Josh, I'm thinking some Italian.
Italian? Ooh, that sounds good. Again, check mark, hit the done, boom, instantly updated, it's all there. This one's 6.4 kilometers away, 7.4, they have low wait times. I wanna find something with, here we go, 2.4 kilometers away, 7 minutes. That's a good one. But let's go for another one. What are we feeling?
Right now, I'm feeling French.
French, ooh, good. Click on the French, we'll hit done, and boom, instantly it'll reload with a bunch of Tour de Fils, 6th Street Grill. Excellent. All right, I'll pass it over to the rest of my team where we can finish off this presentation.
No-line saves users time, and that is what we set out to achieve.
We identified a gap in the market and developed No-line with the intention of solving a real-world problem that was further exposed by the pandemic.
Now, you will never have to have the uncertainty of a wait when you're hungry.
We hope with No-line, you can spend less time waiting and more time eating.
And this brings our presentation to a close. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. No-line, save time in line so you can dine. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, was that ever one of the most fun projects, but also stressful to actually go and make. If you didn't notice, the picture frame behind me just fell down. So I'm gonna have to fix that in post. Looking back in hindsight though, I love how much fun we all had with that project. The whole team coming together to build something, even if it was really stressful. And for that was a huge accomplishment just getting that done. Whereas now we could see that just being a very, very basic and simple application to actually go and produce and create. But for me and the rest of my team in that moment, that was huge for us because that was our first big one. And although we didn't end up actually going forward with building it out because there wasn't enough need for it in the market, still that's a project that I absolutely hold near and dear to my heart. But in any case, we did it. We actually went, presented, and I think we got like an A+ on that, or whatever the actual grade equivalent of it was. It was so much fun to produce. So I hope you enjoyed watching. My name is Josh, and if you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.